The shock of John Cena's heel turn at Elimination Chamber 2025 continues to ripple through the wrestling world, not merely as a moment of betrayal, but as the seismic shift WWE desperately needed. For over 2 decades, Cena has been the standard bearer for WWE's moral compass. The ultimate hero, the loyal soldier, the figure kids looked up to and adults respected, even begrudgingly. Turning his back on that persona wasn't just about creating a buzzworthy headline. It marked a radical redefinition of what WWE stands for, and why it's time to truly embrace unpredictability over comfort. If WWE wants to deliver on the promises of change, Cena must defeat Cody Rhodes at Wrestlemania 41, not simply because it makes narrative sense, but because it's what the modern wrestling landscape demands. Cena's betrayal of Rhodes alongside The Rock and the unexpected involvement of Travis Scott wasn't just heel heat for the sake of heat. It wasn't a nostalgic callback or a hollow swerve. It symbolized a shifting of eras, a public declaration that nostalgia will no longer dictate WWE's future. Cena's actions suggest he no longer seeks to play the smiling corporate icon or the benevolent ambassador. In fact, by aligning himself with The Rock, the ultimate Hollywood-turned-part-time power broker, Cena didn't just turn heel. He weaponized his legacy. He took everything fans thought they understood about his character and burned it to the ground, not to be edgy, but to start something dangerous and new. To cement this transformation, Cena can't lose at WrestleMania. A loss would neuter the boldest creative risk WWE has taken in years. It would reduce his heel turn to a brief flirtation with darkness before retreating back into the safe arms of status quo. The company has often teased fans with change, only to snap back to familiar rhythms. Daniel Bryan's underdog arc, Kofi Mania, Sami Zayn's run, even Roman Reigns' historic tribal chief persona started as a risk, but eventually became packaged comfort. Cena as a villain can't be another flirtation. It has to be the next evolution of WWE storytelling, one where consequences carry forward and seismic turns actually shake the foundation. That only happens if he wins. Cody Rhodes has been on a heartwarming journey since returning to WWE, from battling injuries to winning the Royal Rumble, and eventually claiming the undisputed championship. His story has been the anchor of the promotion's emotional center for 2 years. But WWE doesn't just thrive on feel-good stories. It thrives on chapters. What Cena has offered is the perfect disruption to the Cody Rhodes redemption arc, a reminder that not all stories need happy endings, and that sometimes heroes are just villains with better marketing. Cena pinning Rhodes at WrestleMania would be the kind of heartbreak that breeds legends. It would give Cody something he hasn't truly had yet: adversity from someone who understands the system better than anyone. Rhodes' popularity is undeniable, but there's a looming threat of stagnation. Once a hero reaches the mountaintop and stays too long, fans begin to crave someone to knock them down. Cena knows this feeling intimately. It defined his entire 2000s tense. By having him exploit this very cycle he once endured, WWE adds layers to both characters. Cena wins not because he's better, but because he's more cunning, more jaded, more willing to do what it takes. Something Cody, with his noble heart and white meat babyface energy, still refuses to embrace. Cena winning doesn't bury Cody. It redefines him, it forces him to evolve. This evolution is necessary not just for Cody, but for WWE as a whole. The company is in a transitional phase, with Triple H helming creative and fan expectations at an all-time high for meaningful, long-term narratives. WrestleMania 41 needs to deliver more than just a feel-good finale. It needs to shock. It needs to hurt. It needs to make people angry, confused, and hungry for the next episode. Heel Cena holding the title aloft, walking away smirking as Cody bleeds in the ring, would do just that. It would ignite a new era defined not by comfort, but by bold choices. Cena's transformation also taps into something deeper than just wrestling booking. He's mirroring the disillusionment that many fans feel about celebrity, legacy, and loyalty. His Instagram post about discipline and doing what's necessary read more like a mission statement than a heel promo. This isn't just a man turning against the fans. This is a man who feels the weight of having carried the company on his back for 2 decades, only to be dismissed the second a new face arrived. That resentment is fertile ground for storytelling, and if WWE wants to mine that gold, it must reward that bitterness with victory. At least initially. Cena has to show that betrayal, when done with purpose, gets results. His aesthetic transformation, from the military-inspired bright colors and jean shorts to a shadowy figure in a leather jacket with a clean-shaven look, isn't cosmetic. It's symbolic. Cena is no longer the spokesman for hustle, loyalty, and respect. He is now the ghost of corporate loyalty, the man who saw behind the curtain and didn't like what he found. His win at WrestleMania would be the ultimate "I told you so." It would validate the claim that nice guys finish last, and that loyalty is for suckers. And then, and only then, can WWE tell a longer, richer story about redemption, rebellion, and retribution. There's also the matter of timing. Cena has long stated he's nearing the end of his in-ring career. With Hollywood commitments looming, many assume this run is short-term. That's precisely why he needs to win now. His victory doesn't need to be long-lasting, but it needs to be definitive. Imagine the visual of Cena on the biggest stage, dethroning the people's hero, while a stunned stadium watches in silence. That's the kind of moment that lives in montages for decades. That's not just storytelling, that's myth-making. If this is Cena's final full arc, it shouldn't end with contrition. It should end with domination. The Rock's involvement only amplifies this. His on-screen character has blurred the lines between corporate ambition and locker room legacy. He represents the machine, the system that tries to dictate who gets to be champion. Cena siding with him wasn't just about screwing over Cody. It was about aligning with a force that doesn't care about fan chants or grassroots movements. If The Rock doesn't appear at WrestleMania, it adds to the sinister undertone. Cena as a weapon of corporate dominance, enforcing the will of invisible hands. That's a powerful statement, one that deepens the philosophical divide between Cody and Cena, making their clash feel not just personal, but existential. Even Travis Scott's involvement matters. It may seem like a celebrity cameo, but his presence represents the intersection of modern pop culture and wrestling's ongoing need for mainstream relevance. Cena embracing that kind of star power, while Cody remains loyal to tradition, furthers the contrast. One man is clinging to wrestling's roots, the other is accelerating into its future. However bleak or controversial that future may be, Cena winning would send a message. Evolution isn't about staying pure, it's about adapting to the inevitable. And then there's the record. Cena currently shares the all-time world title record with Ric Flair. Giving him number 17 on this stage, as a heel, subverts everything fans expected. For years, people assumed his historic 17th reign would be a triumph of loyalty, the final gold medal around the neck of wrestling's most faithful soldier. But that's not what makes history. What makes history is surprise, conflict, contradiction. Cena winning as a villain makes that record more memorable, not less. It forces fans to reconcile the legacy of a man they once loved, now turned symbol of corruption. That's real pathos. That's the kind of emotion wrestling thrives on. Cody losing doesn't erase his impact. It sets up a longer story where he has to climb back up, questioning everything he thought he believed in. Does he stay the course? Does he turn? Does he gather allies to fight the machine? These are stories you can't tell if he wins clean and rides off into the sunset. A Cena victory is the disruption this arc needs, because no myth is complete without the fall before the rise. This isn't just about what's good for Cena, it's about what's best for the product. Wrestling in 2025 lives in the age of real-time reactions, of viral moments and unpredictable twists. Cena's heel turn has already gone global, even drawing comparisons to Hogan's NWO swerve. To squander that momentum with a predictable WrestleMania result would be malpractice. WWE has to let the turn breathe, let the consequences play out, let the betrayal sting. That only happens if Cena walks out of Vegas as champion. And from a business standpoint, the buzz surrounding heel Cena is unparalleled. Social media metrics have exploded. Merchandise sales will eventually shift toward this darker persona. New rivalries become possible. Imagine Seth Rollins confronting this twisted version of Cena, or LA Knight hunting him down as the last bastion of moral clarity, or even Roman Reigns returning to confront the man who finally became what he once feared. The possibilities multiply exponentially if Cena wins. If he loses, the magic dies on the spot. This WrestleMania isn't just a culmination, it's a fork in the road. WWE can choose to reward familiarity, to give fans the clean victory they expect, and close the night with a pyro-filled celebration. Or they can choose chaos. They can choose discomfort. They can choose to let Cena's heel persona reshape the main event scene, at least for a little while. That's the kind of risk that defines eras. WrestleMania 3 had Hogan slamming Andre. WrestleMania 17 had Austin selling out. WrestleMania 41 should have Cena standing tall, not as a hero, but as a tyrant who got what he wanted. If John Cena were to lose at WrestleMania 41 after one of the most impactful heel turns in WWE history, the consequences would reverberate throughout the entire company in a way that could either elevate the product to new emotional depths or threaten the integrity of one of its boldest creative gambles in decades. His betrayal of Cody Rhodes at Elimination Chamber was not just an act of violence or vengeance. It was a statement that the old ideals Cena once stood for, hustle, loyalty, and respect, had withered away, leaving behind a man shaped by disappointment, ego, and perhaps a growing resentment of a fan base that once worshipped him but eventually moved on. If he steps into the ring in Las Vegas, drenched in corporate darkness and arrogance, only to fall to Cody Rhodes cleanly, it sends a very different kind of message. that even the most radical transformations are ultimately disposable. John Cena's heel turn was not built on spontaneity. It was crafted with a level of weight rarely seen in modern wrestling storytelling. When he delivered that low blow to Cody and aligned with The Rock and Travis Scott, he wasn't just turning on one man. He was turning on the culture, the expectations, and everything his name had come to symbolize. A loss at WrestleMania would undermine that weight, suggesting that this calculated descent into villainy was nothing more than a plot device to temporarily elevate the stakes. In the long arc of wrestling storytelling, few things are more frustrating than the undercutting of a meaningful turn. Fans aren't tuning in to watch moments. They're tuning in to watch transformations take root. If Cena loses this match, that root is yanked before it can grow into something mythic.